Hey guys, thanks for stopping back in on another video with Coach K. Today I'm going to be sharing a quick trick for making perspective drawing a little less intimidating, and it might kind of jumpstart the ideation process for you. So stay tuned, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in here, and I told you I was going to give you a little trick, and most of you know that if you've either been my student or worked with me, or even just observed how I design, I usually always start with orthographic views. That's mainly so I can determine proper proportion for whatever product it is that I'm working on. And so you can see here a couple quick thumbnails. I am working here in Sketchbook Pro from Autodesk, and but I'm keeping it really loose, not using really any guides at this point at all. But what I wanted to show you is how I can take one of these orthographic side views, and I'm just going to put a little bit of perspective in it, in the sketch. And so that's really going to let me show the client or show the design leadership, my design director, whoever it may be, further enhancements of this design. Or another way of saying that is how much more potential there could be, but doing it in a fast and very efficient way. So if you look here, you can see I've pulled that orthographic view off to the right. I've increased the size, and now I'm really using a one-point perspective. If you see the vanishing lines that I've put on there, they're going downward. They're converging down to a point on the horizon line, which in this case is the base of this faucet design. This is actually a project that's ongoing in my studio class, so I was trying to give the students a couple of tricks to where they can enhance their sketching at a very early stage in their development. So here at a side orthographic view, of course, the handle that I'm working on is a pure circle, and I'm going to keep it that way, but I'm pulling it off. I'm pushing it left and right to give it some thickness, and then I want to give some indication of rotation as well, and so that will be coming up in a moment. But what I'm doing here is that there would be in perspective a little hint of the right hand faucet, or depending on how you're looking at it, the left hand. And so I've thrown that in there. This view right here, although I want to stay very loose, I'm going to be cleaning up a few lines as we go, and you'll see me doing that. But here I'm going to select the handle, and I'm going to cut and paste it onto a different layer and then place it back into position. Now naturally the top of that handle will not be in the proper perspective, and so I'm quickly deleting a few of those lines, and I will be having them converge down to the same one point vanishing point on the horizon line. But realistically, I'm not overly concerned about it. I'm more concerned about being fast and efficient. So I'm just going to drop the opacity back on that layer so that there's just really a hint of the rotation action. But then I will enhance that further with an action arrow, which is the blue arrow that you see there. And again, this is all about just visual communication and conveying your design intent to your client or customer, whoever it may be. and being able to extract feedback from them. So, there's little things that I don't have to do. I put the reflection in, and now I just kind of faded out the edge of that. That's just a little nice to have. It's, remember that you're trying to sell your design. And so any little enhancements that you can throw in there to get people excited increases the possibility of your design going forward or being selected. And so I like to throw in little things like that, like I said, just to get people kind of excited. At this point, I'm not wanting to invest a lot of time, but I do need to go in. I need to throw in some extra line weight, some heavier line weight to kind of punch it off. I'm going to clean up the lines, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. Not all the way around. I don't want this to be a really tight sketch rendering. I want it to blend kind of the loose and the real, the implied realism in my sketch. So it's really just more about trying to get a little bit of color on there. I'm going to show this faucet as being two-tone or dual material, maybe a brushed satin on the underside, and the top could be more of a white, almost ceramic type of material and color. So not going to render it photorealistically. I'm just going to select the area that I want to be the metallic finish, and I'm going to do a straight. If you know sketchbook, I'm going to select the bucket fill with a gradient here. And importantly, I'm not going to mess around with the the grayscale being absolutely perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to think and look at this in terms of contrast, but I'm leaving it black to white because it's on a separate layer, and I can adjust the opacity of that layer later on, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to deselect another area because I want the sides of that to be a little bit lighter, and that way it helps define the form a little bit better. There'll be, on the edges, I'll include some highlights I'll put them in here very shortly, and you can see how it just helps to define things a little bit more. It brings in a level of believability, of viability, and that's really important when you're dealing with people that are making really the decision as to how this product will progress. Will it be with this design, or will it be with somebody else's design? So I like to kind of invest a little extra time as best I can within the schedule to bring in and enhance these sketches a little bit so that people can read them. So there you can see the kind of the contrast in line weights and how that the darker, thicker line weight really helps punch it off the page quite a bit. And so even on the areas that I was saying would be white, which is kind of the back of the faucet and the knob itself, I want to select an area, the hatched areas that I have, and I want to basically include the shadow to enhance the form again. So separate layer, bucket gradient, and then I'll drop the opacity to the level that I want. I want the shadow areas on the white surfaces to be a little bit lighter than what they are on the metal surfaces. So there's a few little a couple little nice to haves in the design. Like I thought it would be really interesting if we could actually have some lighted indicators on the faucet itself. And so even without researching a lot into the technology that would allow us to do that, I'm throwing it in the drawings as a point of discussion. This design doesn't live or die by that lighted blue ring that's there, but it serves a purpose. It gets people excited. It gets people questioning, could that be? It could be something that distinguishes you from the competition and really pushes the product line further along than maybe anticipated. And that's what we as designers can do, right? We can, we're there to look at things slightly differently and to add features that may not have been considered before. So I'm going to leave that in there for now. This is just a little bit of cleanup work. I wanted to add some contrast to the back side of that little trough area where the water would flow out. And then, as you all know, I'm really big on notes. I put my signature on there. I'll put a date on there. I'm even going a little bit over and beyond here by putting a gradient in the reflection of the sketch. I didn't have to do that, but it helps, I think, enhance it a little bit. At the same time, I'm putting in a little very faint flow of water coming out of that trough area, and that's just an enhancement. It's a little bit of context to what this is. And I think for anyone who isn't thoroughly involved in the process or looks at this for the first time, they immediately make the association with, Faucet. Okay, I get it. So it's just little things like that that I think you can throw into your sketches that people would really appreciate. Don't make them too bold though, right? You don't want people's eye to be drawn to the water itself. It's not an important feature of your physical design of the faucet. So just leave it as a slight little enhancement. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was a quick little trick. I'll be back with more tricks, and send me suggestions if you have them. And thanks for stopping by.